right.
Good morning, everyone. Sarah Gross here, Kelly O'Mara. We are back for day 4 of our live updates from Paris.
Oh man. Mm-hmm. We've made it. We've made it to Thursday. It's hard to tell people at home that it's tough.
I know. That's so true. Yesterday, I feel like we were just talking before we started recording. Yesterday, I think after being denied access to several things and trying to get a train home for an hour and recording the podcast late, we hit a bit of a low in
it's tough.
Very, very hot, smelly train ride on the way home.
It's tough being at the Olympics, guys. We're doing it for you. That's what you should take away.
Okay, so this morning, one thing that's not tough is this morning I went on my morning run on the Seine, which I absolutely love, because it's just my moment to go, obviously, and exercise, but see, be part of the vibes. No pressure,
Paris.
just vibes.
Just vibes.
Yeah, and there's a lot to see along the Seine, and also it's where everyone is running. And this morning I was I noticed this yesterday too. This morning when I was running, there's a lot of people out running. Right. And I don't think they're Parisian.
It's actually funny. Okay. There's a lot of people out running depending on what time you go. Mm-hmm. The first day I went at a 6:30 and Ella went at 7. And that's a normal time in the US to go running. Yeah. There was nobody because it's a later.
Yeah. I went at 9.
Right. Then there's people running.
There was lots of people running. And I feel it's the support teams. There's a lot of people who look quite fit out running from all kinds of different countries who are wearing shirts representing these countries.
You to be clear. They look fit, but they are not Olympians.
Right, exactly. That's what I mean. We're not And so I'm oh, it must be it's their the coaches and the massage therapists, the mental health folks. It's all of the support teams and the family members probably even
I think that's true.
Running.
Yeah, the first day I went was the day after the time trial, and we were staying right by where that was start finish, and so I ran right by where the ramps were and everything, and there were definitely some people. But then 2 days ago I ran around this park that was definitely all Parisian locals, because they clearly they do not want to run on the Seine because it's busy and so
I'm sure
they were running around the dirt path at the park. So it's interesting.
Is Paris a place where runners say hello to each other, or do they not?
Well, I don't know.
You
don't speak French.
You don't. Oh no, but do you smile at runners passing by?
Oh, it's not a thing I do.
Kelly doesn't smile at runners passing by.
Sometimes I do a nod. I do it
You do a good hey, sup. Yeah. Because one thing that I did notice is that there's a recognizable thing of when I was running this morning, we're all here for the Olympics.
Oh, you're all here for the Olympics.
There's a lot of eye contact and smiling and
and a lot of
and you know that I like that. You know that I'm the person who's hello, other runners.
I will say one of my experience, and maybe this is where we're transitioning, when I am traveling, particularly by myself or out running by myself in Paris or Italy or Spain, countries that the different culture, I don't want to make eye contact with random men because there's a sense of then I get the, oh, you are so beautiful. Oh, stop and talk to me.
That's a fair point.
Yeah. So I don't make eye contact with random men, largely. Not that I do that in the US either. But we have been talking about it is, and we were joking about we got the third time we got denied trying to walk to the train station yesterday. It is a different, just obviously every place is different. That's a dumb statement. But I was telling you, I went to the Atlanta Olympics when they were in the US. And so they've been pretty aware of other Olympics. And I was joking to you yesterday, when we were trying to get the train station, if that was in America, just would not have, you can't just randomly put up barricades and tell people they can't do something. Right. We would not tolerate the arbitrariness or the unfairness. It's everyone has to have this, because at the same time we were being told we couldn't go this way. There were clearly people walking behind the police officer.
Where we want to go. There's clearly other touristy looking people just walking through.
Through. And in America it would just be that's not fair. That's not right. That's not clear. Or when we've been walking to different venues, there are lots and lots of volunteers and signs, but they're these you're looking for this little tiny arrow in a corner, and you just walk and walk and walk until you find another arrow.
But I have to tell you, Kelly, I have felt very reassured because the number of times that this has happened where I'm okay, it is the tiny pink sign.
It's the tiny pink sign.
So and a lot of the signs are pink because it's pink. The pink purple is are like the Paris Olympics colors, right?
They are, yeah.
So I'm like, okay, if we just keep going, eventually there's going to be some tiny pink arrow and it's going to accurately take us to the place. So I feel like this has paid off.
It's paid off.
Every time.
It's paid off,
so
yeah.
It's not a giant obvious
It's not giant.
sign.
It's where it's like, I keep being like, or like, I guess, and to the point, like I was at a big triathlon in Germany like 2 years ago. And I'm used to, again, triathlons in America where I'm like, well, if there's something important, it will be in bold. They will email it to me. It will be listed in bullet points. And then I couldn't figure out like where I was supposed to go. And they were like, well, it was on page 27,
Right.
Appendix E of the manual. And that was like very German. And so I just feel like there's, and, you know, we're obviously, I'm in California. We're preparing for the LA Olympics in 4 years. And that, I mean, I think it's going to be awesome. I think California Olympics are going to be awesome. But of course, that's been this whole thing. We're like, well, you can't have the run course there. That's the local dog park.
Right.
Like,
Right.
like, so it's just everything has
Which,
like a very different
like
feel
hasn't
to it.
yeah, and that hasn't been the case here in Paris because they've been like literally put the venues in all the main places.
They do not
right?
care about the local impact
Right.
of whatever.
Right.
We're going to do whatever we want to do.
Right, which is like their way of showcasing Paris. So I think it's like actually I think the way the signage is set up actually represents the way this Olympics feels a little bit. Like we have this big, incredible, like old European city, right? And the Olympics is like just kind of feels like one thing that's happening this week, you know, because there's a lot of people here who are not here for the Olympics. And so I feel like the signage is like the right size.
Isn't it
like,
interesting? Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about how like we were going, there's only been a few times where I actually felt like, oh, we're like at an event. Otherwise it's been like, oh, we're in Paris and we happen to see some sports. It's amazing. Whereas like, again, like in Atlanta, there's a very central, like you went to not Olympic Village because that's the word for the athletes, but you went to a spot
Right.
and you entered a security zone and then there was like all the venues were there.
Yeah.
Here it's like you take a train for 30 minutes this way, you take a train for 30 minutes that way and you walk, which has a different, I mean, it's not like good or bad. It's just like, then you also see all these different things.
I'm very thrilled to be experiencing Paris and an Olympic Games
the Olympics.
all in one.
All together.
It's a twofer.
It's amazing.
Cool. Okay. Well, Kelly went to table tennis last night. So we're going to get all the updates from table tennis, talk a little bit about soccer after we hear from our partners.
If you're like us, you're totally inspired by Katie Ledecky and Summer McIntosh and more ready than ever to up your swim training. So let's take a minute to talk about hair and skincare for swimmers. You've probably asked yourself questions like, how can I keep my hair healthy and hydrated as a swimmer? How can I avoid my skin feeling itchy and dry after being in the pool? And how can I get rid of those pesky goggle marks around my eyes? Enter TryHard. TryHard has pre- and post-swim solutions designed to reduce the absorption of pool and ocean chemicals into your hair and skin. We love using TryHard's pre- and post-swim conditioner before and after every swim to keep our hair feeling great. TryHard also has a bunch of other products used for swimmers, like their pre- and post-swim eye gel, which totally works for getting rid of those pesky goggle marks and puffy eye feeling, while providing hydration and a cooling effect. TryHard products are vegan, dermatologically tested, and packaged in recycled plastic. Whether you're swimming in the pool, the ocean, or maybe even the Seine, take care of your hair and skin with TryHard. Use the code FEISTYGAMES for 22% off site-wide at tryhard.co. Plus, you'll get an extra 5% off during sales on top of the already discounted price. That's Feisty Games for 22% off at tryhard.co. Historically, athletic footwear has been designed, researched, and tested for men. Brands have relied on the shrink it and pink it approach to sell male shoes to female customers. That's why we are so excited Heddas is working with us on our Paris coverage. Heddas is building high-performance, technical running shoes for women from the ground up. They operate from a purely female perspective, which we love, and their mission is to ensure the female running experience gets the funding, research, and recognition it deserves. Heddas has unlocked the science behind women's biomechanics through dedicated research and creates better shoes for women's performance. Some of Hedda's special features include a lower ankle collar to reduce rubbing on women's ankle bones, a breathable mesh toe box to allow for ventilation and accommodate female toe shape, and a supercritical foam and Pebax plate midsole to keep our legs going when the going gets tough. Heddas has 3 shoe models designed for different sessions: the Alma Cruise for long runs, the Alma Tempo for training days, and the Alma Speed for pushing the pace. Celebrate the outstanding performances at the Olympics with your own pair of Heddas. Use the code FEISTY20 for 20% off at heddas.com. That's feisty20 for 20% off at heddas.com.
All right, so Sarah, I went to table tennis yesterday without you, obviously.
I haven't even actually got the full update.
full
with
update
table
with table
tennis, so I'm
tennis?
very excited to hear it. Yeah.
So they did it out in this kind of like expo convention center area that I guess was built for like a World's Fair back in whenever the 20s when Paris had a World.
Oh, cool.
And so there was like volleyball in one arena, handball in another, and then table tennis. And it just was making me think. So I don't know anything about table tennis. It's easier to follow than rugby in some ways because you just see if the ball.
There's a ball bouncing back and forth, and it goes out.
And then it goes out. But when we were there, we were like looking at people. Like there's this like it turned out that like it was one game that was very exciting, men's, but very exciting. The guy had actually like defeated the like heavy gold medal favorite to make it to that round, and then he actually like was quite good and made it through. But there were these huge rallies, like volleys, back and forth, and the whole crowd actually started going crazy. At one point, they like had to wait and like for everyone to calm down. And we realized there are like actually all these crazy stories and like all these little sports you don't realize happening, right?
Yeah,
like,
that doesn't surprise me at all. That's so great.
So it was really interesting. Yeah. So I like I mean, obviously that's what we all like love about the Olympics, and that's like when you're watching. That's like what used to be amazing about like broadcast coverage, even though like people don't watch broadcast anymore, whatever. But like that they would pick like the best little like you didn't have to know everything about table tennis or everything about fencing or everything about rugby to like get these little stories. Like women's like doubles fencing is like the finalist today, and the two Americans who went like 1-2 in the singles are on the same team, and it's like the first Black American woman to have medaled, and then the woman who won, she won last time, and she's like this med student too, and you're just like, that's awesome, right?
Yeah.
And you like don't even you don't. It's not that you don't hear about it. I heard about it, but it's just that it's like there's so much happening.
Yes,
it's hard to keep track of.
Oh, that's how I feel being here. Is like there's just so much happening. There's like all these events all the time.
Like, did you know Katie Ledecky swam her 1500 last night?
I did, but only from Instagram.
Right. You're like, oh yeah, that happened too. Yeah.
And that she has like the top 20 times in the world.
She does.
That's wild. So it was like there was this post going around. Did you see it? It was like top times in the women's 1500.
Like all Katie Ledecky.
And it was like 1 Katie Ledecky, 2 Katie Ledecky, and all the times right down to 20, all her. And I think last night it was her own 7th fastest or something like that.
Yes. I will say, my understanding is that the reason there haven't been a lot of world records in the pool is this pool is a little slow. They apparently built it shallower than other Olympic pools.
Well, isn't it that there's like a minimum it has to be?
There's a minimum it has to be, and they built it to minimum
instead of deeper.
Yeah, and deeper is faster. There's also something with the obviously it's all about water bouncing back.
Oh yeah.
And so there's something about how they also did the absorption on the lane edges that's creating a little more turbulence. So the swimmers aren't super happy about it, but
it's a cool venue.
It's a very nice venue though, yeah.
Yeah, because it's a big arena. Like I think that's the other thing that's like sort of stayed with me. The size of the swimming arena, the size of the arena that we saw the rugby in, which is also going to be the track arena. Like it has been honestly like somewhat like easier than I expected to like pick up last minute tickets for stuff. Although it is getting harder. And like the reason for that is not because it's like not because the events aren't as popular as previous Olympics, but because the venues are so huge. Right. Like, so like 66,000 was it people watching
rugby,
the women's rugby? Like what the, like it's incredible.
They apparently sold like 8.6 million tickets or something, which is like a record number of tickets for Olympic Games. And yeah, it is funny now that you're here. I mean, obviously we're here, but people are reselling tickets. Like there's an official reseller. It's like now that you're here, basically on the word on the street, everyone's on the resale market every day, being like, what can I go to today? Yeah. What's popping up? Because people will be like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to make it to this, and they put their tickets on. But then everyone's trying to pick up tickets at the same time. That you have to like refresh really fast. Yeah, and then someone else gets them in their cart. I feel like it's like the undercurrent of the games is everyone's like, oh my god,
yeah, and we don't
cart.
The cart. You have to get it because you have to get the tickets into the cart, and then you like use.
And then you have 20 minutes to make your decision.
To decide if you actually want the tickets. Yeah, I think honestly, like I think I'm going to go on that site right after this because we don't have any. I don't have any tickets for
tomorrow
personally for today or tomorrow. So that's like too long a drought here.
See, I pressed refresh until I got trampoline gymnastics tickets for tomorrow.
You did what?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you told me. I love trampolining. By the way, I like love trampoline. Just like
okay, noted.
Okay, thanks for getting me a ticket.
Yeah, but there are also obviously big things happening. There is the all-around individual tonight, which you cannot get tickets for. That is not on the resale market. And And then I've been watching, like we've been talking about this soccer tournament, super big. Canada and the US made it through to the quarterfinals, and they're in opposite brackets. And we do have tickets to that final. So we have personally been hoping for a Canada-US final.
Yeah.
I think a US-France final would also be.
Would be a fun vibe.
Awesome,
but yeah, or a Canada-France.
No, that they have to play each other in the semis. See, we're on opposite. I know.
Okay, so we can't have that.
And it's been really interesting to watch. I was telling you, like, it's been really nice in some, like, the U.S. team looks good again, and they look really good, but not like, there's not like, oh, they're the same team they were, oh, they're back. It's they're different. Like, it's like they're playing different. It's a different team. It's a very, very young team. It's like the youngest team the U.S. has ever brought to the Olympics. Like, half the team's never been to a major tournament before.
Oh, wow.
And so it's like it was almost like a restarting. And we were talking about,
they've got big shoes to fill.
They've got big shoes to fill. And like, it almost feels like what shifted and changed was like the U.S. women's soccer team was kind of this like trailblazer of women's sports, and very much like spent a lot of their time and energy and capital like paving that way. Like, you listen to them talk about that World Cup back in U.S. in 99 and how much behind the scenes grassroots work they did.
Right.
Like, they were going to like local rallies and like work like just to get people out, to make it a big event, to get crowds there, to then have that moment in the Rose Bowl with the and that takes a lot of energy. And now you have this team that's like, okay, now the rest of the world's caught up. We like can't spend that energy going to local soccer clubs anymore.
You need to be really good at soccer.
You need to be really good at soccer now.
Not that they weren't good at soccer. They totally were. However,
but and that's an interesting, I don't know that that's like good or bad. It's just like, and you also have an entire generation now that's like, well, of course people are going to come to our games. We're the U.S. women's soccer team. Yeah. So they don't, I mean, it's kind of like we were talking about how we were talking with one of the triathlete cyclists who's younger, and she was like, well, why wouldn't people watch the women's race? Like, what are you talking about?
I'm of two minds about that, because it's like, it's amazing that we have this younger generation coming through who are like expecting people to watch women's sports or to be part of it, or to like, but at the same time, I'm like, there's still a lot of work to do. You know,
it is what it is. It's not their job anymore though. Their job now is, what was the
their job is sports.
I want to say Diana Taurasi. Somebody asked her about, well, what does WNBA need to do, you know, with all this momentum? And she was like, I'm not a fucking marketing major. I go out and I bowl. Like, that's not my job.
Need to play basketball. Yeah, for sure.
So, So that's been interesting too.
And then, I mean, just like before we move on, like with that Canadian team, right? They obviously started in controversy with
mired in national shame.
Okay, so briefly, in case anyone didn't hear this story, the Canadian team was flying a drone over which team?
The New Zealand practice. And they got penalized for flying the drone.
Right. So they started the tournament down 6 points, and this is the point that I wanted to make, because of that penalty, and yet they made it through. So now the fact that Canada's going to the quarterfinals is pretty cool.
Yes. So they are playing Germany, I believe. The US is playing Japan. Fingers crossed, because we have tickets, because we bought tickets.
We have
for the final. So
cool. All right, let's hear from another one of our partners real quick, and then we'll come back and let you know what we are looking forward to over the next day.
Here at Feisty, we are dedicated to partnering with brands that are mission-driven and having an impact. That's why we are thrilled to be supported by Joni, a company creating game-changing period care for everybody. Many conventional menstrual products rely on plastic made from petroleum, a non-renewable resource. Did you know that in the US, approximately 12 billion pads and 7 billion tampons are discarded annually, and these products generate over 200,000 tons of plastic waste per year? It can take 500 to 800 years for a single petroleum-based plastic disposable pad to decompose due to its materials, and tampons with applicators also contribute to plastic waste, which can take centuries to break down. Joni is dedicated to bring the wasteful and antiquated feminine hygiene industry into the 21st century. Using a design-led approach, Joni's personal care products and commercial dispensers provide the most innovative and accessible period and leak care solutions in the world. Organic and free of harmful levels of chemicals or irritating fragrances, Joni's pads and tampons support menstrual health and the environment, while allocating at least 2% of revenues to break the cycle of period poverty, dismantle menstrual stigmas, and empower periods. Now that's what we call 21st century period care. Ditch uninspiring and irritating feminine hygiene products and say hi to Joni's silky soft, super absorbent, and toxin-free pads and tampons. Joni pads feature a wrapper and protective layer made from cornstarch, a plant-based material, making them biodegradable and compostable in the right conditions. Joni tampons are made with organic cotton. They're compostable, including the wrapper, which is made of cellulose. Choosing sustainable period products isn't just a trend, it's a movement. You can get 10% off your order with the code FEISTY at getjoni.com. That's 10% off at GETJONI.com with the code FEISTY.
Okay, so Kelly, we are very excited about this afternoon. Where are we going?
Yeah, so we were all like, oh, we have a whole day off. We're gonna like go into fan zones. Anyway, I got us into the Team USA house. I'm very excited. I know. I got us in. Yeah, no. But we're gonna go check out the Team USA house, which is in this like it's a big palace they took over. And I mean, there are houses for a lot of the major countries. Like France has a house, Canada has a house.
Can I just, what is a house? Like, why do the countries have a house? What is its purpose? Like,
yeah, historically, they were kind of just for they used to just be sort of like for the athletes and like where any of the athletes could come and they would do big celebrations and parties after like medals. Okay. It was kind of like a hangout zone for all of the staff too and the athletes. They've opened them up to the public these days so that like France House has been, I think it's called Club France, has been pretty crazy because I guess it's like $5 for a public ticket. So they've been doing big events. Right. But they also, so now it's like a place you can go and know that like the medal winners from your country from like earlier that day, like I guess like the French triathletes who won yesterday were at Club France last night doing like big party, big celebration. And so they certainly vary. And then I was thinking about like poor like Bermuda. They have like 4 athletes. I don't think they have a house.
They don't have a house?
I don't think they have a house.
I would go to Bermuda house.
I know. So I think some of the smaller countries, they don't have as big a like national governing body, so they didn't like rent out a palace. Like weirdly.
They have a flat.
Yes.
Like ours.
Yes. Which I mean, maybe then you also know everyone. I don't think Team USA, everyone.
Right. It could be a bit unruly.
So we are going there later today. We're going to check out some fan zones. I'm going to try and just walk around. Not walk around because I don't want to do any more walking, but see things outside of all these venues. So
yeah,
it'll be fun.
It's going to be fun.
And then we're back to sportsing.
Yeah, and we'll be back tomorrow with all of the updates from Team USA House and
athletes
from our roving.
Our roving.